Well, g'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm making a video that's long overdue. It's part 2 of my motorcycle adventure camping gear. Today I'm going to be talking about the equipment that I take with me to do my cooking. I'm going to look at my stove, pots and pans, and the sort of food that I take with me on one-day and multi-day trips. If that's something you might be interested in, stay tuned. Well, thanks for staying along on the video, guys. Just before we get into this, I need to tell you that I haven't set out to put together the world's #1 camp cooking setup. I've acquired my equipment over many years. I've tried lots of different things. They haven't worked, so I've thrown them out. Now, the other thing is that I'm not just into motorcycling. I go bushwalking, I go four-wheel driving, so I need to get something that works for all those different types of activities, not just on my motorcycle. So the first thing we'll do before I even show you my camp setup, we'll talk about this little table. Now, this is obviously a small coffee table sized table. It comes from a company called FE Active. I think they're American. It's probably made in China like everything else. And I got this on Amazon for about $60, so I think they're available worldwide, and as I just showed you, you can see just how small it packs up. So it's a neat little table. There are other options out there, but this is working well for me. So the first thing we'll do is talk about storage. This is the bag that I keep all my gear in, and it fits nicely just inside my Lone Rider pannier. This bag was actually given to me by a friend of mine called Peter O'Reilly. Really appreciate that, Pete. Thanks very much. It's been fantastic. It's quite a well-made canvas bag. There's a couple of buckles on there just to keep everything nice and secure, and there's a decent zip as well. So let's take a quick look through the contents of the bag, what I've got in here. You can see there's a lot of gear. Then we'll look at the individual items. So I've got a lighter, very useful. These are my Nespresso capsules from a little espresso machine. I'll put a link to a previous video and demo I did on that. For water storage, I've got this little Sea to Summit bag. I think that's a 2 litre. Once that's full, it's too big to fit in there, so I just lash it to the molly system on one of my Lone Rider panniers. There's my Nespresso coffee maker that I just talked about. That's fantastic. It takes the capsules. You don't have to faff around with coffee grounds. You just put in your capsule and hot water, and hey presto, you've got your double shot espresso. For camping foods, I like to keep things simple, things that don't need freezing, obviously, because I don't have one on the bike. And these last for years. I think they last for years, but they're super easy to make. So that's tomato and bacon in a pasta. I'm a big believer in the backcountry meals. I might actually do a separate video on this. Couple of different examples that work well for me. First thing in the morning, you've got a full cooked breakfast. I go for the bigger serves, you know, because I'm a big guy and I need to keep those calories in there. This one is a Mexican chicken, and there's another one that I like, which is a beef, like an Indian curry. They also do desserts, so I've got an apricot crumble there. And then we'll look at the other pieces of equipment. I've got a titanium or titanium, depending on where you live, cutlery set. I've got a Sea to Summit cup, which is extremely light. I've got my Sea to Summit kettle and pan. We'll take a closer look at that one afterwards. And I've got my Jetboil flash, which I've had for at least 12 years. So everything fits in there, including the gas canister. So again, we're going to come back and look at these items individually as we go along. And then the last piece of kit that I've got in there is the Mighty Mo Jetboil stove, and we'll talk a little bit about that further on in the video. Moving round to the side pockets, oops, I keep things like dehydrated noodles, porridge mix, and sort of emergency essentials if I get caught short. Quite often if I'm going through a town, I might stop and support a local bakery. In the other side of the bag I keep some fire lighters, and then I can make my own fire if I'm out in the bush. Alright, so that's everything that goes in the bag. Now we'll look at things individually. So before we get into the individual items, I'll give a little shout out and try and compete with the bird life around this area. As you can probably hear, they're giving me a bit of a smashing this morning. Alright, so talking about cooking gear, without a doubt my number one go-to piece of kit is the Jetboil Flash. As I said, I've had this for about 12 years at least. The cover's starting to look a little bit worn now, but you can get a replacement cover. If you haven't used one of these before, they're a fantastic piece of kit, and there are some knockoffs. But you know what, like I said, I've had this for 12 years, so buy quality and buy it once. That's my recommendation anyway. So there's your gas canister. You can get them at any camping stores. Sometimes they sell them at fuel stations, servos and whatnot. There's the stove itself. So the stove screws onto the top of the canister, obviously. There are some little legs if you're going to put it on a uneven surface. I don't tend to bother with those, especially if I'm cooking on the table. But they're in there anyway if you need them. At the bottom you've got a measuring cup or a little bowl that you can eat or drink out of. The lid's pretty good on this. You can see it's got a little hole in it there, so you can actually boil up water in about 2 minutes and pour straight out of that. Now, the only limitation, and I'll try and find the next gadget, the only limitation with the Jetboil is there is no simmer control on a flash. So if you put something like milk or porridge or soup in the bottom of there, you're going to burn the bottom of it, as I've found out many times. Alright, so that's where something like this comes in. This is the Jetboil Mighty Mo. There's so many different ones, Mini Mo, Mighty Mo. This is the Mighty Mo, and this replaces that unit, but it has a really good simmer control on it, and you can see it's big enough to put a small pot on. Alright, let's talk about pots. Now, quite often, as I mentioned, I use these backcountry meals. Some people don't like them, they think they're powdery. It's how you cook it. You got to make sure that you get your water right down into the bottom and give it at least 10 to 15 minutes. Keep stirring it before you start to eat it. They are actually really good, great meals. They always fill me up nicely, but yeah, I get it, you could get fed up of that. And that's where something like this comes in. Now, to spice things up a little bit, you could get yourself a tin of tuna or some cooked ham or something like that, and cut that up and put that in there, or even some proper bacon if you're close enough to a store. So when I'm using that, I obviously don't put it in there because it will burn in the bottom. What I do is I use the Sea to Summit X pot. Now this is great. This is actually a kettle, or doubles as a kettle, as a pot, and you just pull these sides out and that goes on top of the little stove like that. Obviously you got to hang on to things to make sure you don't tip it over. But with this you can use the simmer control, and again, to keep things simple, keep it simple stupid as they say, I eat straight out the pan. The reason I do that is I don't have to wash much up. With these meals, there's no washing up. You just put hot water in, okay, roll up the pouch when you finish with it, and drop it off in a trash can when you're at the next servo fuel station in town. with this one, minimal washing up. Get your spoon right in there and even lick the bowl clean. So that's my cooking stuff. My cup that I mentioned is the Sea to Summit. I can't remember what it's called, but it's something like ultralight, and it is very, very light. It's a bit bulky, but you can put things like noodles in there, so you can use that space. They do make a collapsible cup, but the sides are a little bit wobbly. Okay, so last but not least is my mini espresso machine, which I mentioned earlier. As I said, I have done a demo on this in a previous video, at least a year ago, so check out that. I put a link up there earlier. With this, all you need is the Nespresso capsules. Sorry, there's your little espresso cup. Won't give you a full demo. Capsules go in there. Screw that on. Hot water with jet boil into the reservoir there. Pop that on. Little piston on the side. You pump that, and there's your Nespresso espresso shot. I actually do that twice, so I get a double shot in there. Now, some people are a bit soft when it comes to coffee. They don't drink black. They have to have milk and sugar. So what you can do is then transfer that into your cup, add a bit more hot water, and put yourself some milk in, or warm up some milk. So that's it, guys. That's the whole setup. As I said earlier, a big believer in keep it simple, stupid. Let's break it down very quickly. If you use the pre-packed meals, either those or those, you get minimal washing up. If you need to wash up, you've got to carry washing up gear, washing up liquid, things to dry, etc, etc. So I try and keep it super simple and keep it nice and lightweight. Again, with the coffee maker, people whinge that it's not a full-size cup of coffee. They prefer coffee grounds, and yeah, so do I. But you know what, if you're camping out in the bush, again, let's keep it simple and lightweight. So that's all from me today, guys. Now, if you've enjoyed the video, please do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one. As always, ride safe and have a great day.